welcome to this HTF's newest show, HTFC, where we will be talking all things soccer all semester long. I am your host, Edgar Rodriguez.
And I'm Patrick Deleon, and we have a very fun show for you guys today. We're talking about 3 different topics today. We're going to do a recap of last week's games or recent games, and we're also going to jump to Champions League, a preview of the return, the final couple match days for the season for the Champions League group stage. And finally, to cap everything off, we're going to do January transfer rumors. What's likely going to happen? We're going to grade them on a scale of 1 to 5. How much do we like these moves? So, Edgar, to start off our first official episode of HTFC, what's going on?
Yeah, not too bad, Patrick. We have the setup already. HTFC is ready to hit the road. But before we get started, let's talk about what we are wearing today. Patrick, you are repping the City Beautiful today. Talk me through it.
So, I think naturally, since this is the first episode, Orlando City is my team. I'm doing the 2022-23 away shirt, the Sunshine Kit. I love this jersey. It's probably one of my favorites that I own. It's really cool. I love this. It's probably my favorite away jersey we've had so far.
Absolutely. I actually have that one too. I was gifted it. Not wearing it today though. I went retro today, Patrick. 88-90 Arsenal home kit. We have the old logo on here. And when you see the shirt, you think of the likes of Ian Wright. You think of Tony Adams. You think of the glory days for Arsenal. Hopefully they're coming back soon, Patrick. But let's jump right into the first segment where we will be recapping some of the games that have happened recently over the last week or two. And we're going to start with the Supercoppa Italiana, where we saw in the final Milan against Inter, the Milan derby, right? An incredible game. One that Inter jumped in the lead early on, 2-0, but then Milan, under their new manager, Sergio Conceição, absolutely, with a last-minute, barrage, and, came back from Saudi Arabia with the trophy.
Of course, and it was such a fun and exciting game. Inter Milan, they had it at first. They were up 2-0. Then second half, we saw some huge changes. From AC Milan, Hernandez scoring in the 52nd minute to spark the comeback. Then you had Christian Pulisic with a beautiful goal to help draw the game level. And then Pulisic again being an important role in that 93rd minute. Beautiful pass to Leao. Leao lays it off to Abraham. Abraham slots it home right at the death to take it away from their rivals. Such an exciting game. So much fun.
Yeah, and I think especially for Milan, who sacked Paulo Fonseca after, a lackluster start to the Serie A season. Of course, they sit 7th in Italy. This is huge for them. This is huge. And we're going to talk about the Spanish Super Cup as well. But it's almost lots of similarities there, right?
Yes.
Milan needed this almost more than Inter. Let's move on to the Supercopa de España now, also taking place in Saudi Arabia. That's a whole different topic, right? Why are these games in Jeddah?
That's another day.
Right. Maybe not for today. But, wow, a demolition job by Barcelona in El Clasico.
I know. This is just rough from Real Madrid. I mean, Kylian Mbappe scoring in the 5th minute to seemingly put Madrid on a really great day, having a great day, right? And then 20 minutes later, Lamine Yamal scoring to draw Barcelona level. And then from there, you just see them collapse. 36th minute, Lewandowski PK. 39th minute, Rafinha. 48th minute, second half. Valdez, 45 plus 10 in that first half. Madrid just completely fell apart. And this is
rare for Real Madrid. You usually see Los Blancos show up, especially when a trophy's on the line, especially in El Clasico. But, I mean, like you said, Mbappe scored early. You would think, okay, walk in the park for Real Madrid, right? Barcelona not in their best of forms this season. Of course, they lost, an 8-10 point gap at the top of the table that they had in La Liga. And now, all of a sudden, Hansi Flick flicked the switch, right? No pun intended there. But flicked the switch, and Barcelona, just went for it. And we saw Real Madrid defensively horrible this match. Yeah. Yes, they had to play Tchouaméni as center back. Yes, they've had to play Lucas Vazquez at right back. But man, it did not work.
Not a good look for Carlo Ancelotti for sure. And there's some stats from this game that you have mentioned to me off camera before, like Hansi Flick, he's never lost a final that he's been in.
Never so far. Doesn't crack under pressure. I mean, he had countless finals with Bayern. Of course, didn't fail to win not even one of those, including, DFB Pokal, the Club World Cup, the former version, of course. We have the new one coming this year. What else? Champions League, anything you name of. Flick has been there and done it. Even with Germany back in 2014 when he was assistant manager, of course, won the World Cup in Brazil. Of course, when he took over just recently, didn't work out, but in club management, he has a proven record of bringing home the silverware. And for Barcelona, like we said, they're sitting third now. Not really what they were expecting at this point in the season.
No, and hopefully I'm sure they're going to take this win as a way to reignite that passion within them. Realize, okay, we can compete for trophies. They're not too far behind from Atletico, who are in first in La Liga. They're right behind Real Madrid in second place. We'll just have to see whether this makes their season turn around a little bit.
Shout out Atletico, by the way. 14-game win streak, their longest in club history.
Unreal.
I mean, Diego Simeone, yes, he doesn't play the most attractive football, but
it's terrorism ball. But it's working now. It's working.
And you cannot hate against it at this point. They have a surprise lead at the top of La Liga. But let's move on to the Premier League in England. And we saw a huge game at the City Ground. The surprise of the season, Nottingham Forest, channeling their inner 80s successes under their manager, of course, Brian Clough. 1-1 against Liverpool. It's the second time Liverpool go against Forest, and they were unable to beat them. 1-1 in Nottingham.
I know. It's super exciting time to be a Nottingham Forest fan.
Oh, the atmosphere there. I wish I was there.
It's something I definitely was not expecting whatsoever this season, especially from them. Only at 41 points, 6 points behind league leaders Liverpool.
Yeah.
So still some work to do if they have real hopes of potentially winning the league. But this is a great first step, I think, being able to go unbeaten against Liverpool this season, home and away.
Unbelievable.
And it's a huge achievement. Still a bit of a mountain to climb because Liverpool I don't see them slowing down at all. But Forest, Chris Wood has been phenomenal for them. They have a beautiful all-round lineup. Gibbs White has been amazing as well. They're a very fun team to watch, and I'm sure a lot of the smaller clubs are going to be looking at them as inspiration as well.
And they're solid from back to front. We've seen Murillo and Milinkovic at the back. Sells in goal. What a performance from the Belgian goalkeeper. Kept Forest in and made countless brilliant saves. And like you said, their attacking line. You have Hudson-Odoi, Elanga, Gibbs White, Chris Wood. These are all solid players. And Nuno Espirito Santo went into the Forest job probably expecting to be in a relegation fight heading into the season. They're going to play Champions League at this rate.
That would be amazing to see.
I would.
And look at that, 23 shots for Liverpool and just 1 goal.
And I have to talk about Arne Slot, and we have to give him his flowers too.
Of course.
22 seconds in the second half. So let's backtrack. In the second half, there was a substitution that he made. He brought on Diogo Jota and he brought on Tsimikas, right? And Liverpool had a corner. 22 seconds after those two players came on, Tsimikas put it in the ball into the box. Jota with the header. So 22 seconds after his substitution, assist and a goal.
Impact subs.
It was a stroke of managerial genius from Arne Slot. And it means that Liverpool come away with a point. And yes, Forest, at the end of it, they were heavy-legged. You could tell they have been chasing Liverpool the whole match. But unbelievable for them to even be dreaming about Champions League. What do we have next, Patrick? I'm excited about this one.
We're going to jump to your Arsenal, the North London derby. Arsenal 2, Tottenham 1. What are we thinking?
Oh my gosh. Now look, we started this match, and I'll say Arsenal, started this match well. We were dominating, and I think they dominated the whole match, right? But then Tottenham took the lead. Heung-min Son, your boy,
my boy,
from a corner kick. It took a deflection. Raya couldn't reach it. Tottenham went in the lead, and I was thinking, man, not again. Not again. We lost to Newcastle recently. We lost to United at home. I was like, there's no chance that this is going to happen again. But again, a corner kick from Declan Rice, put it into the mixer, caused chaos as it always does. Gabriel headed it. Actually came off of Dominic Solanke last. So it was an own goal to make it 1-1 in the first half. And just before halftime, Leandro Trossard starting over Martinelli this game. Great finish. It hit the ground. It bobbled right in front of Kinski, who, by the way, the whole match, the Tottenham keeper looked nervy. There were some moments where you were like, what are they doing? But look, 2-1. We'll take it. We'll take the 3 points. Tottenham 6 losses in their last 8 Premier League titles. Let me ask you, is Big Ange in the hot seat?
I think he has to.
Has to be.
I mean, does he have to? I don't. It's just.
I think so.
I just feel like this is just Tottenham that we see every year. Like it's so hard to tell. Like, I think if it keeps going like this for another month, he unfortunately his time may be up. But well, I guess we'll have to see how they play out against Liverpool domestically in the Carabao Cup.
Carabao Cup, second leg.
Correct.
They have the lead.
I believe that could be the catalyst in all this.
Well, we will see. I mean, Tottenham haven't won a trophy in God knows how long. Ange Postecoglou always says, look, I win a trophy in my second season. He's done it at Celtic. He did it when he was in Japan, I believe. In Australia as well. But still, it's the Premier League now.
Premier League.
It's
different.
It's the big leagues now, right? And no game is easy in the Premier League. You could be playing Leicester at home and you don't know what can happen. But in the North London Derby, it means more. And we showed up. We showed up and we dominated, like I said, the whole match. Tottenham just didn't have enough to challenge at the Emirates.
And the rest of the league as well it's always an exciting, exciting time in the Premier League. I think this has been one of the more fun seasons for me personally, from what I've seen so far, especially because of all these smaller clubs. Newcastle doing great. Bournemouth also doing pretty well.
Very good season
for Bournemouth standards. I'd say.
And we've seen some shock results elsewhere in the Premier League.
Absolutely.
Brentford 2-2 against City. They came back very late. City had a lead heading into the 80th minute at the G-Tech Stadium. Brentford doing what they do best at home, getting a point. Chelsea against Bournemouth 2-2 again.
Just right at the death, Chelsea did tie.
They did. Reece James free kick. Did you see it?
Yeah,
wow.
I did. Bournemouth unlucky for Bournemouth, but I mean it was an amazing goal. Nobody was stopping that.
Yeah.
West Ham 3, Fulham 2. Anthony Robinson for Fulham getting 2 assists. That's my boy. Shout out to him.
There you go. U.S. Soccer Player of the Year.
Absolutely. He deserves that big money move.
Yeah,
I think
and
it's
it
going to
might come in the summer. We will talk about that later this show, though. Elsewhere, David Moyes back at Everton managing. Villa did take the 3 points at Goodison Park. Leicester 0, Palace 2, and Newcastle dominated Wolves.
Newcastle 3-0 Wolves. Really, they're going down. They're going to go down. I believe they're going to go down this year.
New manager, but that bounce looks like it ran out.
Yeah.
That is all, though, Patrick, for the first segment. We will be back, though, because next week, Champions League is back, so stay tuned.
Behind every on-screen moment is a whole team of engineers and technologists.
And you can be a part of such a team through SMPTE at UCF. You'll join a team of students just like you who are ready to innovate the future of TV and film.
With SMPTE at UCF, you'll be able to connect with local industry pros, learn about new technology in the industry, as well as get backstage experience that really matters. Join SMPTE for a backstage pass to all of this.
We meet every last Monday of the month for our general body meetings. There, we discuss how new technology is being used to create new media, and we get to highlight local professionals and their specialties.
On top of that, we have some site visits planned, so tune into our social media to be notified of when those will happen.
So if you're ready to pull back the curtain and find out what really happens behind the scenes, join SMPTE at UCF.
All right, everyone. Thank you for sticking around. It's time for segment 2, and joining us is Real Madrid superfan Patrick, Daniel Valdez. How are you, Danny V?
Hi, I'm good. I'm glad to be here, especially in the debut series of HTFC.
That's
Thank
right,
you.
the
Super
first
exciting.
episode.
Thank you for being here, Danny.
First guest. There you go. You will forever be remembered as the first guest on HTFC. That is what a moment for us all, right? But let's jump into Champions League. Of course, we took a little break to focus back on the domestic leagues after the international break, after the new year. But next week, the Champions League is back and running. And Patrick, you chose probably the biggest game of match day 6.
I think so. Biggest game, considering that these two are fighting to even make the playoff spots.
Who would have thought it?
Who would have thought? Paris Saint-Germain sitting at 25th with 7 points. Manchester City just barely above them at 22 with 8 points. Now, you look at the last couple of results in Champions League play. It's been pretty dominant from City. You would, on paper, at least against the smaller clubs, right?
Yeah.
But losing it, tying against Feyenoord right at the end. Sporting Gyökeres is just absolutely demolishing them. Tying against Inter 0-0. They really need a result here if they want to keep their Champions League hopes alive, because there's only 2 games left. And PSG also a loss against Arsenal, a draw against PSV, a loss against Atleti, and a loss against Bayern. They're also not doing so great.
No.
And you just wouldn't expect teams of this caliber to be so low in the standings at this point.
And we've seen, Danny, with PSG, I mean, they haven't won a Champions League game in their last 5 or 4, right? Bayern, and yes, it's good competition, right? Like we can't underestimate that. But PSG every single year disappoint in the Champions League.
That's just what they do. And I love it.
Although, well, so I know we'll talk about transfers next segment, but will Kvaratskhelia change that for PSG? Will that be the spark they need?
Everybody thought Messi, Neymar,
True.
all of them
If
would
that
change
didn't
PSG.
work,
If that didn't work, nothing's gonna work.
Right.
Like, come on, let's be like that.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah,
but
it's
PSG we're talking about.
I know the most positive thing about this game is it is at least in PSG Stadium. So
Hopefully
the home crowd does help out the fans, but it's going to be pretty tough.
It's
It
going
is
to be
gonna
an
be pretty
incredible
tough.
game.
Yeah.
And just quickly on City, 3-0 up against Feyenoord. Drew the game. It felt like a loss for them.
It really was.
I mean, that's just not how City usually are, right? And the demolition job, like you said, by Gyökeres in Lisbon, that is a very interesting matchup. I'm very excited for that one. I decided to focus on Atletico Madrid against Leverkusen. Now, these two teams are, more where you would expect them, right?
Yeah.
Leverkusen, 4 points behind in the Bundesliga, chasing Bayern, of course, the reigning champions in Germany. Atletico Madrid, like I mentioned, 14 on the bounce. Bratislava at home, Sparta Praha at home as well. But also against the likes of Lille, we saw them beat Real Madrid, right? PSG, yes, they took advantage of their poor form. I mean, this is just so intriguing, isn't it? Because Atleti are also trying to get into that top 8.
Of course, and they're just below it. They're not too far off. It's pretty crowded
Very crowded.
I think from second place to the middle of like the pack. It's really close. 1, 2, 3 points at most.
Right.
Leverkusen also having a pretty interesting time in Champions League as well. Probably struggling a little bit. Probably hoping they could be doing a little bit better. But even still, they're in 4th. They'll be fine. I'm sure they'll. Again, but there's just so much movement that can happen in these last 2 games. They're not safe whatsoever.
No, not at all. And we saw them go to Anfield, and I think that's the result that sticks out, isn't it? 4-0 at Anfield. They got, just blasted away by an incredible Liverpool team who have gone 6 for 6 in the Champions League so far. If you were to pick one, you guys, who do you think comes up on top? Because this is close.
I think right now it's got to be Atleti. Just considering everything that's going on with them right now in domestic league play in La Liga, I think it should be Atleti. At least 2-0.
Wow.
That's what I would say.
So
2-0.
I do think Atletico will win this game. I do really like Atletico, especially how they've been playing. But I do think there's also a potential chance they might draw here because both these teams are really high paced. They're both got some great talent.
I don't disagree with that.
It could be a possible tie.
That's fair. I can see that happening
It's
too.
so close. It's so close heading into that one. 2 big name teams at the top of the Champions League, of course, fighting it out for the top 8. But now, Danny V, this is what we brought you on for. Real Madrid also lurking, way lower than what we expected. 20th place at the moment. They face FC Salzburg. How are you feeling going into this as a Madridista?
I am a bit worried, but also hopeful.
Okay.
Because, I mean, excluding
Salzburg.
It's Salzburg.
Yes, it is Salzburg, but not including our recent performance in a very embarrassing loss.
Right.
Hopefully the team will move on from that. But I definitely do think that Real Madrid, they should be able to win this game. 3 wins, 3 losses, a 12-11 point goal differential, which, yes, means they do have some good offense power, but their defense has been kind of slacking a little bit,
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit tough. Luckily, this game is in the Bernabeu, Santiago Bernabeu, so
That does make a difference.
Yep, does definitely especially help, especially considering that Salzburg, their one win of the season is on the road. They have been performing really horribly this season, so I do have Real Madrid win this game, but I definitely hope that Real Madrid can at least put on a great performance, especially considering that all the fans, they might be feeling a little bit broken inside from a 5-2 loss, and I'm one of the broken fans, but
I mean, but this is also just something that you don't see from Real Madrid. Real Madrid struggling to even be at the top of like the pack in Champions League. Real Madrid, I've said this so many times, they're synonymous with the Champions League in general. So to seeing them at 20th is almost like, whoa, what's going on here.
Yeah.
Even if they were to win right now, considering other results, they still wouldn't crack the automatic spots for the next round. So they have a lot of work to be done here.
Absolutely. And like we said, Real Madrid, 3 losses at this point, it's almost unheard of, right? And especially to Lille, Liverpool as well. We saw Mbappe miss the penalty at Anfield. I think that was a turning point. Milan went to the Bernabeu and took the 3 points. All very surprising results. Again, similar to City almost. Like, these are not results that these clubs are used to. But yeah, I think against Salzburg, this is a game where the likes of Vinny, the likes of Mbappe, Rodrigo, they have to come alive.
Yeah.
Endrick this season, who's been a little disappointing. As of, looking at it from a Real Madrid point of view, they are hoping and relying on their front men to take this game by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Patrick, do you think it's going to be a blowout? Do you think it's going to be a close game?
I actually would expect it to be a blowout. I'm thinking like a 4-0 right here.
Especially since Salzburg are out of the Champions League.
They're not. They have nothing
I have like
to play for.
3-0 Real Madrid winning.
Yeah, probably. So Salzburg against Real Madrid, pretty much a lock in terms of results.
But you never know, because this Champions League season has been really interesting. You never know what's going to happen. I will actually be really shocked if Salzburg can pull off an upset here.
So there are a few other matches I wanted to quickly touch on before we go. Feyenoord against Bayern in the Netherlands. Bayern coming off of a big win against Hoffenheim. Patrick, do you think they go there and win? Feyenoord have been having a decent season so far.
They've been having a decent season, but that'd be super hard to tell. Like, it's Bayern Munich, Bayern is such a powerhouse also in Champions League. They're also a little bit lower than they probably would like, but I don't know. Maybe a draw.
Yeah,
I could sense a draw.
I can see Bayern slipping up potentially there. Of course, Liverpool, Lille as well, elsewhere in the Champions League. And Arsenal have Dinamo Zagreb at the Emirates. We'll see how those games get on. But Danny V, thank you so much for coming on HTFC, talking your favorite club, Real Madrid. We hope you'll be back soon.
Definitely. I definitely hope to be there. And a la Madrid, nada más.
Patrick, what do we have coming up next?
So next, we've got January transfer rumors, and we're going to grade them, potentially see how likely they're going to happen. We're going to have a different guest on us for this segment as well, so stay tuned.
Hello. So I guess the crew's getting ready for the next segment on one of our amazing shows. I'm Nick Cohen, host of Season 20 of Hitting the Field, and let me tell you about those amazing shows. On behalf of HTF, we hope you're enjoying today's content, but I'm here to tell you about everything else we offer here at the network. Mondays at 4, HTF Bets goes live for Season 10 with 3 gamblers that, although it may not always seem like it, are here to help us all earn a little bit of extra money while we watch sports. Diego Ortiz, Tyler Brownrigg, and Andrew Gregg's ball knowledge and fun personalities make this show a fan favorite. On Tuesdays, you all loved it, so we brought it back for Season 2. It's Girls Got Game, hosted by Frankie Noble, a show blending women in sports, the biggest sports news stories, and creative segments that make for a fun and engaging show. Next is everyone's favorite sports podcast, The Combine, hosted by who other than Ty Patton, an easygoing, conversational, and technical podcast dropping Wednesdays, also on Spotify at The Combine. Then tune in Thursdays at noon for the network's main show, Season 20 of Hitting the Field, hosted by me. Here, we'll cover any sport, any topic, any story, no matter how obscure. We love some football, basketball, hockey, F1. We also cover baseball, soccer, and we even have to show the UFC love sometimes. Penultimately, TGIF, because Friday is nighttime, hosted by Kathleen Moore and Matthew Bracker. Season 8 of Nighttime is where you'll turn to for all things March Madness, UCF sports, and other collegiate events. We're ending with something brand new. HTFN has never had 6 shows running at once. Also filmed in our new podcast studio is HTFC, hosted by Edgar Rodriguez and Patrick Deleon. Football, or soccer in America, is the most popular sport in the world. Across multiple leagues and cups, soccer is a year-round sport, and HTFC is your news source to stay updated. Also on Spotify, by the way, at HTFC. Outside of our 6-show roster, be sure to tune in to our other content, such as the Studio Days vlog, run by our vlog squad of Brianna St. Jean, Michaela Croker, Ashley Rowe, and Ben Huber. Make sure to follow us on our social medias like Instagram, Facebook, and X to stay updated on all HTFN news. Remember to subscribe right here on YouTube, leave a like and comment, and with that, I think we're ready for your next segment. I'm Nick Cohen. Thank you for your continued support, and back to your regularly scheduled programming.
And just like that, we have made it to the last segment of episode 1 of HTFC. Thank you for sticking around. But now we are going to turn our attentions to the January winter transfer window, Patrick. And joining us for this segment is HTF's very own Robert Hudson. Robert, what's going on there? What's going on?
You see, I'm rocking the Chelsea shirt. It's been a rough month after an excellent season, really.
A rough month.
Yeah. But I mean,
Did you hear this guy?
we expected to be fighting maybe 6th for the Europa League, but now we're in 4th place, trying to stay in the Champions League spots right now. So
that bothers me.
I thought a couple weeks ago, Chelsea are gonna win the league. Chelsea are gonna win 5 without a win, Robert. I don't know what's going on with the Blues.
We're not in a title fight.
Thank you very much, Patrick.
I'm a Chelsea hater. Where they should be. And I might as well be an Arsenal hater too, but
you were going well, Patrick. All right, let's move on then. The winter window has been interesting this year, boys. We've seen it get off to a little bit of a slow start, but we are starting to see some big name moves. Most recently, Daniel Malin going from Dortmund to Villa. That's an interesting one. Montiel, Patrick, you brought this one up. Going back to his native Argentina.
To Argentina. He's only 28 but still. So
Right.
it's not like he's. If Argentina and River Plate come calling, you gotta answer.
You have to. It's that sentimental move, right? And then Kvaratskhelia, Napoli to PSG. We heard him want to move away from Italy, Robert. That one looks like it's going to be done.
Yeah, so it's around the range of about 72 million is what PSG and a couple of the France outlets are reporting. Really, that rift sort of started when Osimhen wanted out, and it started a huge hubbub between Osimhen and Napoli.
Yep.
They brought in Antonio Conte. He's not really fitting that sort of style of play. He's not enjoying it. He's still on pace to match his previous season's goals and assists, but he still wants out, and he wants to get out of Italy specifically.
And we saw Osimhen make a weird, I would describe it, move to Galatasaray.
I know that was always a move
Mind-boggling
that I never
to me.
understood. Like, why
neither.
a player of his talents going to Galatasaray? Nothing wrong with Galatasaray, but come on, you can go so much higher.
At this point in your career, Kvaratskhelia making. Is it even an upward step? I would call it a sideways move to PSG. We've talked about their Champions League frailties. Right. Yes, they'll win Ligue 1. Yes, they'll probably win Coupe de France.
Like
but
Mickey Mouse League, dude. Who cares?
Right.
League to league, it's sort of the same thing, but I'd say it's a better team overall than Napoli, and they have a different kind of a project, right? Napoli went out, they got Lukaku over the summer. PSG, on the other hand, is building up that youthful base, and they can get him for a decent price for his future potential, right? I'm not going to say he's worth 72 right now. I'd probably slap around 60 million on him. 17 goals a campaign out of a wing is pretty good.
Yeah.
But the potential he can bring to that team, and he's relatively young, 22, 23 right now.
Absolutely. Huge talent. We'll see if he flourishes at PSG. But now, let's talk about rumors.
Yeah, let's jump to some potential rumors that we've been seeing across the internet. So, Omar Marmoush to potentially Manchester City?
Potentially. From Frankfurt, having an incredible season in the Bundesliga, the second top scorer in the Bundesliga, 15 goals, playing for Frankfurt, who are fighting for a Champions League spot. He has the most assists in the Bundesliga as well at 10, and City are lurking. Of course, they have had a rough season, kind of falling from the cloud 9 that they seem to always live on. Sitting 6th in the Premier League now. We were talking about this, Patrick. Haaland hasn't been performing at his standards.
Numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
The likes of Foden haven't gotten going. De Bruyne is having a bit of a lackluster season. Bernardo Silva, everyone there is kind of, performing under expectation, Robert. I mean, a guy like this will light a spark.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily Haaland's doing himself. He's a fantastic finisher, but he requires service.
Needs support.
You're seeing this heavily on City as those wingers are being very selfish with the ball. They're trying to go down the sides. What Omar is going to bring to that City roster is, especially at Frankfurt, is you see with that assist tally, he will drop back and he'll link the front three with that midfield. So you might see City run a little bit with those wingers starting to cut inside and underneath, with Omar as that go-between the wingers and Haaland. And I think Haaland gets a great goal tally out of this. But as for Man City, this is a fantastic option for them, and he's definitely looking to improve given Frankfurt's position in the Bundesliga, not routinely challenging for anything with Bayern and Leverkusen up there.
Right. They're kind of like a I guess the new Leipzig almost. We've seen Leipzig historically challenged, right? And we've seen Dortmund historically challenged, both of those kind of falling a bit behind. But Frankfurt, headed by Marmoush and Ekitike as well in Germany, they've been having a great season.
Up next.
My goodness, Patrick. Talk to me about this one.
Marcus Rashford. Okay, look, for me personally, I've never understood the Rashford hype. I've never really thought he's been that good
Me
of a
neither,
player.
honestly.
So, to Napoli, I don't know how he would adapt in Italy. Maybe he could potentially thrive, because we've seen ex-United players move to Italy. McTominay, obviously.
Yeah.
But Rashford,
he has to go, Robert.
He
has to.
He has to get out of the Premier League in general, and the pressure's put on him. I don't think it's so much a talent as the mentality of it. And he's never understood the Man United fan base. Yeah. And it puts so much pressure on him to be the focal point of everything. And he's a serviceable winger. He's like 28. He's a serviceable winger. But he's never going to be that guy in the roster. Whereas if you go to Napoli or you go, even I could see him somewhere at PSG trying to work a swap deal. But he needs to get out. To Napoli, I think this is a very unlikely deal. I think the entire hype around Rashford to Napoli was that sort of a swap deal to get Kvaratskhelia over to Man United.
Yeah, and that was ambitious. And look, 3 years ago, right, in 22-23, I believe it was, Rashford had an incredible season, got that contract extension until 2028. He's on £320,000 a week. Who is going to pay that?
I mean, this is almost as bad as Chelsea's contract situation, paying these players hundreds of thousands of pounds a week for nothing. But I do want to point out that his record season, or his breakout season that we call it, came during the COVID era.
It did.
When the stands were empty and nobody's out there to see him and they're not putting that pressure on him. He needs to go to a league where that kind of a pressure isn't an everyday aspect of his life.
I agree.
I don't know. I feel like he's going to face that no matter where he goes, to be honest.
Especially after his recent form, though. He's put himself in this position where it's like, yes, United have to get rid of him at some point. You can't have 11 Premier League goals in your last 2 seasons, and you're supposed to be the main man for Manchester United.
That's not Premier League quality.
No.
For a striker, no, you can't.
And ever since Amorim came in, we saw him not included in the squad.
He's getting phased out. He's gone.
Yeah. Gone. And so, it's just a bizarre situation with Marcus Rashford. The talent is there, but he's not making the most of it.
So, up next, what is next on the agenda? We've got Araujo, or Alexander-Arnold, sorry.
Let's talk about TAA first.
Yes, my mistake.
No, all good. A rumor that always comes up. It's like the Mbappe saga, basically 2.0. That's what I'm calling it, because Real Madrid are knocking again for a high-profile player, and it looks like it's not going to happen this month, Robert. It looks like it's going to drag on again, probably likely in the summer.
Pushing it to the summer, even that I find unlikely. I mean, he's been flirting with it a little bit. I don't know if Arne Slot has come in and changed that mentality around how TAA wants to stay in Liverpool, but Liverpool needs to get their contract situations in place. Not only is TAA out of a contract soon, they have Mohamed Salah that they have not renewed, and there's offers of $62 million a year from Saudi Arabia next year. And if they lose Salah, they cannot afford to lose Trent Alexander-Arnold. And so I think you're going to see the Salah situation resolve, and then they're going to immediately pivot and give TAA a massive extension.
Or Van Dijk. They have 3 of their highest profile players running out of a contract. And honestly, if you put Salah, Van Dijk, and Alexander-Arnold in front of any Liverpool fan, I think they take Salah and Van Dijk. Even though Alexander-Arnold, yes, he's a Liverpool boy. He's been there since he was 6. But it almost feels like it's time to go.
To win. He's done his job here.
I think so.
I think it doesn't hurt to try out new challenges, especially Real Madrid.
Right.
Insanely historical and huge club.
Yep.
Why not try something new? He's won Champions League with Liverpool. He's won Europa League. No, sorry.
Premier League.
Premier League. I don't know why I said Europa League. And I think it's time to move on, just for fun.
I agree. He might want to move on. The club is definitely going to try and keep him at all costs, given that there are also some floaters around about them trying to replace Andy Robertson after some lackluster performances. And so searching for 2 fullbacks,
it's going to be tricky.
That's a rough situation for any team to be in. But TAA, He's definitely excited about Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Whether or not the team lets him leave is the different question.
And we saw, I think it's almost getting to him as well. We saw him have a terrible performance when United went to Anfield and drew 2-2. It was just defensively. We know his frailties, right, as a right back. But he loves going forward. He loves bombing forward, and that's what everyone focuses on. But again, going back a little weaker on that, it's going to be interesting. Liverpool have put themselves in this position where it's like, the 3 highest profile players are all out of contract at the end of the season. It's going to be incredibly, exciting and interesting to see how they resolve their issues. But Patrick, this is the one you wanted to get to.
This is the one I accidentally skipped towards. So, Ronald Araujo from Barcelona potentially to Juventus. I could see it. I feel like that's honestly kind of realistic. But I've liked the work he's done at Barcelona, though. So I don't know if they'd really be willing to let him go like that, because I don't know who they could really bring in to fill in that gap once he's gone.
He's been injured for a lot of the season, Robert.
Right,
His past work has been incredible for Barcelona.
Right, yeah.
But you also see Hansi Flick has come out in defense saying, hey, he's going to stay here, he's going to renew.
Exactly.
How much of that is the manager covering his squad and the drama? How much is that trying to cover the back room? Because, again, this is another layered situation. In Liverpool, you had Van Dijk and you had Salah. In Barcelona, you have Dani Olmo, you have Pau Victor, and you have the contract situations with all of these teams.
What a mess.
And
oh my gosh.
so if you extend him, is he going to take a pay cut? Is he going to restructure his deal? If you get him off your books, it saves you so much problems. So from a team perspective, you may not want to let him go.
Financially, but on a business side, it's probably the best move.
And it's always something Barcelona have to pay attention to. Every single time, whether it was Piqué years ago, whether it was Messi when he left, it's almost every single time with Barcelona. If they get rid of players, it's because of necessity rather than actual
want to
right.
get rid of them.
Exactly.
Now,
So
I do want to point out that I think something that could happen is if they're so intent on registering Dani Olmo, I think they keep Araujo because of the defensive structure of Hansi Flick in that high line. I would not be surprised to see the Frankie de Jong rumors resurface soon.
we know that's going to happen over the summer, right? It's almost like every year, every season, it's like, oh, he's gonna move out of Barca, but there he is. He's under contract.
That is a
Trapped.
contract.
That's the word. That's the word to describe trapped. And when we've seen the likes of Pau Cubarsí, of course, right? Flourish at the back for Barcelona. I think it'll depend on how good of a season he has here on out, right? How will he finish the 24-25 season? I think that will dictate whether he stays or goes to Italy. So we're going to stick on the topic of defenders, but we're going to go to the Premier League. Crystal Palace captain Mark Gahey linked to go back to Chelsea.
I mean, personally, I love the deal. Chelsea would actually stand to make about $3 million off of it. So back when we originally sold Mark Gahey, we sold him for about $18 million to Crystal Palace. A shrewd bit of business to sort of comply with FFP. He was sold just before the ban with Roman Abramovich and then the transition in ownership. But he has blossomed into a fantastic player for Crystal Palace, working on that back line. And he sort of fits that Wesley Fofana role that we're using right now, that ball-playing defender who can sort of calm things down. When Crystal Palace are tied, he's there in possession, working with the keeper to try and keep that back line stable. That's really what Chelsea lack. And I love the deal. However, they just recalled Trevor Chalobah. And so pulling both of them back at once is a little bit of overkill, unless they're trying to pull Chalobah to then do a swap deal later on or some sort of finagling with the financial side later.
Right. And he never even played for Chelsea in the first team when he was there. But, I mean, that move to Palace, Patrick, he has made a name for himself. He's gotten his England caps. He's been a fixture in the England squad as well. We'll see if that continues under Thomas Tuchel. Of course, that's going to be so interesting to see how England do under their German manager. A lot's been made of that. But Gahey, is it time to move out of Palace, Patrick?
I think it's actually reasonable. If they can get it done right, just like everything that Robert just said, if they can do it right, absolutely, I think that's a wonderful move. But if not Palace, why not a Newcastle? Why not a Forest?
I like that shout.
I feel like a Forest would also be a really good fit for him as well. But Chelsea, I don't see any harm in going back in Chelsea, assuming everything can go smoothly, because we all know how crazy the financial side of things can get.
No, and also for Chelsea, Robert, that would be, the 60th player on their squad?
Something like that. I mean,
getting close to 100, Patrick.
I think
that'll
that's the
take too
recall.
long.
I think Trevor Chalobah's the 60th. This would be
Okay,
61.
okay, got you.
No, Chelsea do need a defender badly. That defense has been pretty leaky, and Nebraska only one clean sheet in the Premier League so
That's
far.
been a problem.
That's fair.
Robert Sanchez has been shaky in goal, but it's not all his fault. As much as I want to blame him, that defensive line has not made a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But we're gonna finish off on the red side of Linden, Robert. I'll take the the attention back over to the Gunners. We need a number 9, and badly, urgently, right? And in January, it's tough. The options are limited. Is Alexander Isak really going to move out of Newcastle? No.
Not right now.
Is, the likes of Dusan Vlahovic? That's always a rumor out there. Will he move out of Juve? It's almost like De Jong, right? Every year, he's moving out. He's moving out while he stayed. I wouldn't mind that. But I think a more realistic option, boys, is Brian Mbeumo. He's also been linked to Arsenal. Look, Jesus injured now. He tore his ACL. He had a knee injury out of the last World Cup. He injured the knee again. We can't keep relying on Kai Havertz. That's the bottom line. No, as a striker, yes, Patrick.
He's very streaky, but he is not a finisher.
He'll hit a 6-game run. Oh, he's back. Oh, 60 million down the drain. Kai Havertz scored again. We're all singing it from the top of our lungs.
He really
and then disappears.
He really grinds my gears.
Yeah.
Because I can never. I've also another player. I've never been able to understand the hype around. It's just he's not a natural number 9. He cannot finish for the life of him when it's absolutely necessary to. It's annoying. I don't even support Arsenal, but it's a pain to watch sometimes.
You're welcome from taking him from you, Robert, because oh my God, 60 million.
I experienced that pain.
He knows all too well as well.
He did win a Champions League for Chelsea, though.
He did.
So Chelsea fans can't hate him.
No, but at the same time with Havertz, it's that struggle of he's not a number 9, but he's also not an attacking midfielder because he's so clunky on the ball.
Yeah.
He has to be a one-touch guy, and he doesn't have that ability. But you're looking for that number 9. I don't think Brian is that fella. He's only played 30% of the time in that number 9 role. In fact, he spent more time on the right wing.
True.
And his XGs this year, he's only averaged about a 5 XG. So he's outperforming that metric exceptionally well. He would be a fantastic rotational player at a high club, but I think the clip that he's taking shots and the lack of any other true goal scorer at Brentford is really sort of helping him propel his goals forward.
Personally, I think he's had a great season at Brentford, especially with Johan Wissa as well. Those two up top for Brentford have been exceptional. And we've seen Brentford, away from that relegation zone, they're safe in the Premier League, and Mbeumo is flourishing, I think. And if there was a move to be done, I would not be opposed to this, Patrick. I think he can actually fit in.
I think it could work too.
Yeah,
for sure. I'm gonna have to disagree with Robert, to be honest.
I disagree.
I see it happening.
I think it's time for him to move on to a big club, really test himself at the top of the Premier League, and especially in the state of desperation that Arsenal are in, I think it can work.
I definitely think he does need to look to move towards a bigger challenge for him. Do I think it's a number 9 role? That's the question I want to ask him. And so I would just want to ask you, before we end this segment here, I want to leave it with you. Would you rather Arsenal pull the trigger on Victor Gyökeres?
Oh, Gyökeres, yes. I'll take him all day long. But again, it's one of those... Is it unrealistic? Yes. It's a more fantasy transfer, right?
To finish out the segment real quickly, we're going to go back to all of these transfers super fast.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 5, how realistic do we see this? How much do we like? So, we'll start out Marmoush to City. How much?
I'll give it a 3.5.
I'll give it a 3.5
really?
as well.
I think it's going to happen. I think it's a 5. I think it happens by the end of next week.
It has your seal of approval.
Yes.
Okay. In January.
Right.
Wow.
Rashford Napoli.
2.
1.
1.5. 1.5. 2.
That's as low as it's going to get.
All right. TAA to Madrid.
It's not going to happen in January, is it?
No. Possible summer deal, so I'll say 2.
2.5.
Maybe a pre-contract.
2.5.
In the summer, a 4. I think it'll happen.
Right
January,
now,
I'll give it a 0, honestly.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
All right. Gehi to Chelsea.
I love that move.
A 2, but they have to work with Chalobah.
Yeah.
They have to work with Chalobah because they just took him from Crystal Palace.
Yeah,
So.
I'd give it like a 1.5 or 2.
Ideally,
just right now.
On paper, it's a 4 for me. But realistically, I'll agree with you guys, 1.5.
And then finally, what we're just left off Embuemo's Arsenal.
5. We need a striker. We need someone up top.
I'm giving it. I like the move, but I'm gonna give it like a 3.5.
Okay.
I think it's good because you also have Saka out, and so he replaces that right side as well. I like it on paper as a 4 to a 5. I think likelihood is a 3. I think Arteta's going to question whether or not Havertz is good enough.
Yeah. Well, boys, that was very fun. Robert, thank you for coming on the first episode of HTFC. Patrick, always a pleasure. We will be back next week to cover the Champions League is back, more transfer rumors potentially, and recap the games that we have previewed today. But boys, from all of us here, see you next week.